Hey guys, quick question. Were you into trucks, space, dinosaurs, or cowboys as a kid? It's the equivalent to horse girls. Were you a truck boy? Genuinely curious. Anyway, Adventure Time has a lot of great episodes, like the one where they save the multiverse from the Lich, the one where they have to stop a penguin from turning into an alien, and of course, the one where Finn has wet dreams of being lit on fire. Okay, I don't know about that last one.
I wish to blow up. Like get big.
Regardless, a commonly overlooked episode is Season 2, Episode 4's Blood Under the Skin. You've probably seen this one before, but you might not remember it. It's the one with, Drop Ball Guy.
1 point.
Yeah, now you remember. But believe it or not, this episode is also about fragile masculinity. You know, guys like Aiden Ross, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Titz. So grab some popcorn and grab your friends, because this is an overly analytical breakdown of Adventure Time's Blood Under the Skin. We start this particular adventure with Finn and Jake going berserker on a ladybug that's gotten into the house. Finn's literally throwing his sword at this thing, and it's just like a harmless little ladybug. Kind of a subtle nod to how a 12-year-old like Finn approaches a lot of situations. I'm not trying to say he's being overly violent or anything. I don't want to sound like a complete wet noodle here. But imagine what Gumbaldia Finn would have done in this situation.
I used to be all about violence. Now it's like, I'm different.
You're a beautiful flower and I love to watch you grow.
Maturing is realizing you don't need to be aggressive to be assertive. According to research, you want to be assertive rather than aggressive, in control instead of controlling, and competitive rather than dominating. There are very minute differences between these qualities, which is something Finn will learn in time. Ultimately, this scene serves as a good baseline for establishing how young men like to roughhouse, and that's not really a bad thing. I thought my research would show that it was, but no, surprisingly, the research actually supports that this kind of play is great. While a lot of things in our old masculinity playbook need to be thrown out, there are some good things that we can keep. Turns out, roughhousing is one of those things. Like normal play, it's healthy for young boys to get competitive and learn when to use their power and when not to use it. This was actually part of the episode Crystals Have Power, where Jake learns to control his aggression when he's roughhousing with Finn. Kids need these life lessons in order to grow, and it's part of healthy masculinity. So, not all of masculinity is bad. In fact, we'll come to learn that most of it is necessary. Finn gets a splinter. Ooh. Yeah, I absolutely hate getting splinters, man. I used to get them all the time when I was a kid. That's rough. Jake points out that it's just a small one.
Wow, that's a tiny splinter.
It was a little baby splinter. But Jake, my dude, that's worse. This means that it is much harder to get out. In order to combat this splinter, Finn gets a thimble to protect his finger. Okay. Gotta use protection, I guess. You could interpret this as Finn avoiding the problem rather than actually facing it. He should have just pulled the splinter out. I'm surprised Jake didn't step in and do it. But Finn's a man, you know? Physical pain shouldn't faze him. Right. I'm sure if you ran up and kicked Jordan Peterson in the nutsack, he'd still cry like a girl. But wait, because we can't use that language anymore. Yes, it's with a heavy heart that I must inform you that saying things like, "don't act like a girl," are actually kind of bad for you. Not only does it instill this implicit knowledge that women are less than, but it also gives young men the complex that they always need to perform, to be stronger than women, to hide their emotions when the going gets tough. Telling young men that they need to be better than women is actually bad for women and men. Because yes, it goes against women's empowerment, but it also tells the guys that everything rests on them. They're the ones that need to be the ultimate protectors. They can't get emotional. Maybe in caveman times, sure, steadfast and kick some ass. But that model is outdated. Because men and women are now mostly equal, we've still got some work to do, face it. We need to reevaluate saying these kinds of things to our boys. Because they're going to grow up with this dissonance, that they need to be both stronger than women, but also not stronger than them at the same time. Speaking of empowerment, I'd like to bring up one small tiny criticism I have with the modern feminist movement. Yes, you heard that right, I do have one criticism. This is probably the most black-pilled my channel will ever sound, so strap in. I'm just here to echo some of the sentiments that I see floating around online. A lot of feminists on the extreme end of the spectrum misunderstand what it's like to have to constantly guard your own masculinity. Masculinity is something men may feel they have to earn and then constantly defend. Meanwhile, femininity is considered a birthright, and masculinity is something that you've got to work for and can be challenged at any time. According to author Elizabeth Wilkerson, quote, "Real manhood is not a natural condition that comes about spontaneously through biological nature, but rather is a precarious or artificial state that boys must win against powerful odds." Unquote. In other words, we've created this system that punishes men for acting feminine. So, can you really blame us for constantly trying to defend ourselves from the assumption that we're a feminine guy? I mean, some of us have just accepted that we are who we are and that's the end of the story. But for most guys, it's still really important. And you might say, well, that's dumb. Men should just let their guards down and be feminine, be whoever you want to be. Cool, except that's usually a turnoff for most straight women. Not just the college girls trying to get some dick. This is like a lot of straight women, which we'll actually talk about later. Again, not all feminists, just some of the most extreme ones, fail to realize that men are left utterly confused when we're told that we should be emotional and act more feminine, but when we do, it's actually not okay because it's not attractive to me anymore. You can see how I've been put into quite the pickle here. Do I want to be myself, or do I want to not be alone? So, I guess I'll just end this by throwing up the usual disclaimers, and I'll leave you with this. There's not a lot of overlap with guys who are mentally stable and guys who are ultra-masculine bad boys. I don't know what to do with this information, but it is something to think about. Finn shows off his thimble armor to some knights at the market, and they make fun of him. These are literal adults making fun of a kid. They're stand-ins for those kinds of dads who say, "Oh, rub some dirt on it, sport." Again, we've recently learned that this kind of talk really sticks with you, even if you didn't realize it back then. This dude named Sir Slicer shows up and tells Finn that without full body armor, he's a punk-ass bitch. Sir Slicer is basically another stock macho influencer. He's this grown-ass man making fun of a child. But he's not here to make fun of him, no. He's here to tell him that in order to become the alpha male, he needs to spend his way to the top. Ah shit, here we go again. If an influencer has to tell you that you need to drop $70 on mywifewentOutForPizzaWithoutMe.com, they're a shitty. You do not need to spend a bunch of money on name brand clothes, etc. just to convince your significant other that you're rich. That's dumb. If you're concerned that your girl will care about stuff like that, time to leave. True masculinity is being content with what you have. Sure, you can work hard. Maybe if you really like those clothes, you work hard to afford them. But don't wear them just because you think she's gonna care. Then you're only going to get women who do care. You have to realize that, dudes, you have more to offer than just your wallet. But Finn falls for it, and he wants to buy more armor from Choose Goose. Problem is, Choose Goose only has goofier armor to offer him, like armor for his butt, so the other knights laugh at him. Again, fragile masculinity at work here. They're fragile because if they were in this exact same situation Finn is in right now, they would react the exact same way. Change my mind. A real man is resilient, but Finn hasn't learned that yet. For Finn, the only thing that would be worse is being shamed by a girl, which would destroy his confidence even more. Weird that I bring up that point, right? That being shamed by a girl is worse? Honestly, I had no reason to include it in the script. I only say it because this was a prominent point in my research. Weird, right? The American Psychology Association reports that men react more strongly to shaming by women than other men. So if you're a girl hanging out with your dude and you're ready to slam dunk on him for looking like a moron, don't make the mistake of thinking he won't internalize it, because he will. Sorry, that got a little black-pilled. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's have some fun. We're gonna play a game. A lot of the fellas are wondering what's a turn on and what's a turn off, right? You probably clicked on this video secretly hoping for that. What masculine traits is she actually attracted to? Lucky for us, I found this handy-dandy little article that breaks it down for us. Your job is to guess if it's a turn on or a turn off. Let's do it. Confidence and playfulness. Is this a turn on or a turn off? Give you a few more seconds. That would be a turn on. The turn off equivalent is false bravado, lying, and a need to control. Extreme muscles. Is this a turn on or a turn off? It is a turn off. The turn on equivalent is he is more muscular than me, a deep voice, facial hair, and taking control in a gentle way. Cooking for me. That is a turn on. The turn off would be not courteous. Yeah, that one was kind of a gimme. Assertive and ambitious. That's a turn on. The turn off would be being entitled, bad communicator, passive. Secure in their masculinity. That is a turn on. The turn off would be arrogant, tries to talk over me. He dominates me. That's a turn on. Yeah, I bet a lot of you guys got that one wrong. The full answer is, he's strong and powerful, kind and attentive. I sometimes like to be dominated, but not in a degrading way. I guess there's a very fine line to walk there. The turn off would be being made to feel like I'm a whore or otherwise degraded. Hubris. That's a turn off. The turn on would be assertiveness, attentiveness, kindness, open-mindedness. A hairy chest. That's a turn on. Good news for me, I suppose. The full answer was a hairy chest, short and clean nails, nice shoulders, gets really hard, a furrowed brow. Turn-offs. Too much of an ego, not being super into their partner's pleasure, poor posture, drinking too much. I would think most guys would be into their partner's pleasure because, as we learned from a few videos ago, men really get turned on by watching their girlfriends get turned on, so, that's surprising. Independent. That's a turn on. Physical confidence, biceps and shoulders. They don't have to be buff. It's just a sense of their manliness. Independent. The turn off would be arrogance, over-aggression, being controlling, too dominant, unemotional. Ignorance. Yeah, that one's a turnoff. Turn-ons would be confidence, knowing who he is, being excited to be with me. Saying, I could have so many women, but I choose you. Boys, that's a big turn-off. That is very narcissistic. You should be intelligent, empathetic, and funny instead. Chivalry. Turn on. Contrary to popular belief, chivalry isn't dead. Women also tend to like it when you know how to fix things, but only when they ask. Sometimes you're just there for emotional support, and that's okay. They don't like locker room talk. Being rough during sex. Huge turnoff. A lot of men have scripts that prioritize fucking hard and fast, with constant position changes. This commenter wrote, I'm not there to be used and thrown around like a ragdoll. So, a little bit of domination in the bedroom is manly and sexy, but not so much that you're trying to put on a show like in porn. Oh, I'm sorry, corn. Beards. That's a turn on. Yes. Obviously, every woman is different, but according to this researcher, most women like beards. Very cool. Dominance in the bedroom. Yep, you've probably figured it out by now. That's a turn on. Again, the masculine trait is still sexy. Being physically superior to me. Turn off. Wait, that's not right. That's a turn on? That's really a turn on. I guess muscular, yeah. The turn off equivalent is using my body for masturbation, putting on a corn actor's show. So I guess corn is not helpful for your technique, turns out. Alright, well, I hope you learned something. I hope you got at least one of those right. And moving on. Choose Goose tells Finn he needs to find the armor of Zeldron. To get it, He needs to decipher a poem and pass trials. They get to the first trial, where Finn keeps accidentally opening curtains to reveal old women showering. Now, stick with me here. This one's gonna be a bit of a stretch, but I think this is meant to represent how boys are taught to be afraid of vulnerability and intimacy. Well, stay with me. When I say vulnerability and intimacy, I simply mean your body and being accepting of it. Yes, this scene probably just symbolizes pure embarrassment because, yeah, anybody would be embarrassed in this situation. But this is a specific flavor of embarrassment that hits particularly hard for men. Men are sometimes socialized to suppress qualities such as compassion, empathy, nurturance, tenderness, vulnerability, and intimacy because they are stereotypically considered feminine characteristics. Sure, anyone would be embarrassed if they opened the shower curtain. Again, it's normal. But for men, this fear of intimacy and your own body is compounded on that. This one is a stretch for this scene, I get it. But I think the next scene will sell you on this idea. The second trial is to get a mother yeti to stop crying by acting like her baby. Finn has to pretend to be held and rocked to sleep like a toddler. Men will sometimes allow themselves to explore these more tender, feminine parts of themselves in the privacy of an intimate relationship with a woman, snuggling with their partner and using pet names or baby talk in a way that they would be mortified if any of their male friends ever learned of. It probably hits extra hard for Finn because he lacked a biological mother for most of his life. He is not used to this kind of being held. Also, to pass this trial, Jake says to just make her think it's her idea because that's how you get women to do what you want.
Then just make her think it's her idea. That's how you make the ladies do what you want.
What? Jake? You better stop reading JT Dog Zone. This moment could possibly be a commentary on how a lot of men are just trying to manipulate women and disguise it as helping men. But no, they're not trying to find common ground. This is bad. A lot of these dudes are so scared that their girl is gonna control them that they jump the gun and learn these weird ninjutsu techniques to manipulate her first. Like, what? What's ironic is, they'll tell you that girls are the master manipulators while they're out here talking about future farming and shit. Dumb. Oh yeah, there was one other point I wanted to bring up in the previous scene. One of the women in this confusing mess of shower curtains calls Finn a pervert. Just straight up. I will say it once, I will say it 1,000 times. This is me and every man's worst nightmare. Obviously, no one is walking through a maze of shower curtains in the middle of the woods in their daily commute, but I mean, being called a pervert is one of the scariest things for a guy, because one, it might be severe and public enough for him to be publicly ostracized, and two, cement his own shame about his sexuality and stereotype him as being a hypersexual man. Am I saying you should never call out creepy dudes? Of course not. This video is not about telling women how to change. This video is about teaching young men how to deal with misunderstandings like this. Dudes, listen. If you're out there just shooting your shot, approaching a girl, you're gonna get called a pervert once or twice. It's just something that you're gonna have to accept, unfortunately. Even if you're not being suggestive in any way. A lot of people out there are quick to judge. But you gotta remember that if someone judges you that quickly because of a misunderstanding, maybe you were just a smidgen too awkward, then they probably weren't worth your time anyway. Talk to someone you trust if this happens. Don't internalize it. And don't think that all girls are gonna do this. Trust me, I've seen it happen to close friends. This happens once, and suddenly they're full-blown misogynist. It's a slippery slope. And you want to get to real fear? That's real fear. Sir Slicer comes back and has a minstrel sing a dumb little song about Finn and how he's a pussy. It's kind of fire though. Finn gets to the dungeon where the armor is, and he has to complete the third trial, winning a game of drop ball. Now, I don't know about you, but this game looks absolutely horrifying. What the hell am I looking at? This is yet another trial of embarrassment. It is pretty bad. You have to pick up a rubber ball with your ass cheeks and walk with it over to another spot on the floor. You know, this sounds like something we'd have to compete in at our school's annual fitness fair. Either that or Zumba. I don't know which one's worse. Finn doesn't do drop ball, right? So the guy shows him how to do it. I could go into how drop ball guys' willingness to step in is an indicator of how competitive men are taught to be, but even I am not going to be that overly analytical. They sneak past him and get the armor. But there's one problem. It's lady armor. It's got those giant boobs on the breastplate, which I never really understood about women's armor. I mean, sure, you need like space for them, but it's just a funny concept to me. I don't know. Dropball guy gets pissed that Finn didn't watch his technique, so he tries to fight him. But Finn refuses to wear the armor, so he just goes in bare-knuckled. This, kids, is what we call the Atlas complex. The Atlas complex of men can lead to a lot of mental health issues. The old notion of masculinity, defined as being tough and aggressive and protective while being attractive and hypersexual, are still strongly present in society. A softer form of this masculinity is the expectation of being the tough protector and a provider in a family or a relationship. This notion puts extreme pressure on men and leads to mental health issues while also affecting relationships at work, at home, and amongst friends. This is what we call the Atlas complex of men, because it's the idea that men literally carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, and a belief that it will collapse unless they continue to do so. As a guy, I know a lot of us feel that we need to go it alone, lone wolf style, but dudes, we're already like so lonely at this point, a lot of us. We don't need to close ourselves off even more. That's not a good idea. You should lean on people. Finn needs the help of Jake to physically defeat the drop ball master, but he also needs to lean on people emotionally. You know, try to open up to people in your life about what you're dealing with. It's hard. It's so hard. But you're gonna have to do it. Because men have a hard time going to therapy, for good reason, therapy is fundamentally broken for guys, they end up having less people to depend on, which is dangerous. Why? Well, because us men kind of have this tendency to take our own lives. Men are 3 to 7 times more likely than women to take their own life. It's just a fact. But we're not here to compare traumas. Anyone who's taking their own life, we need to help them. Guys, you especially need to learn that it's okay to depend on people sometimes. Because if you don't and you have a rough day, you can feel completely hopeless, which is a recipe for disaster. Here's why. As profiles of school shooters have shown us, the most dangerous male on the planet is not one who is strong, aggressive, and successful. The most dangerous man is the one who is depressed, unable to partner or raise children successfully, unable to earn a living, unable to care for his children. The most dangerous man is not one with power, but one who feels powerless. Which is precisely why figures like Aiden and Tate are so dangerous. They're creating a generation of men who feel powerless by comparison. They're made to feel powerless. So why do men never go to therapy? And when they do, why does it almost never work for them? The reason is psychological, actually. Without realizing it, over the last 50 years, we've set up counseling and psychological services for girls and women. Come into my office, we say kindly. Sit down. Tell me how you feel. Boys and men fail out of counseling and therapy because we have not taught our psychologists and therapists about the male and female brain. The male brain is often cerebellum dependent, meaning it needs physical movement in order to connect words to feelings and memories. Women are generally better at talking and connecting emotions to words, but boys need some kind of action in order to do this effectively. To the men in the audience today, have you ever noticed that it's easier to talk about your feelings when you go for a walk? This is why. Only 15% of new counselors are men, leaving 85% women. Clients in therapy skew almost 80% women, 20% men. Men are usually dragged in by moms or spouses, but generally leave an environment unequipped for the nature of men. Basically, what I'm saying here is that more men would go to therapy if we designed our sessions around the male brain for male clients. Anyway, let's finish the episode. We're getting off track. Jake puts on the lady armor and defeats this guy by telling him he needs to go outside. He shouldn't be sitting in this cave for thousands of years. Sort of like a mother telling her son to stop being a Mountain Dew chugging, ass scratching incel. And yeah, good on her. I mean him. You know, we can throw out huge parts of the old masculinity textbooks we used to follow, but going outside and getting some exercise are still beneficial, generally speaking. Sometimes you do need to just get off your ass and live your life. Working out will give you a feeling of power like you've never felt before, which we've established is good under the right circumstances. So he goes outside, and he's free from the addiction of drop ball. Yeah, dude was literally addicted to drop ball. At the end of the episode, Finn learns that he doesn't need armor to be cool. Basically, we're saying that you shouldn't have to pay your way to being the alpha male, and you should embrace emotions like embarrassment, because a little bit of embarrassment and even intimacy is healthy, and showing that doesn't make you any less of a man. It might make some women less attracted to you, but I don't know about you, I'd rather be myself first. Sir Slicer shows up and makes fun of them. Finn finally points out that Sir Slicer spends his day chasing kids around. Which, yeah, that's embarrassing for you, buddy. And also creepy. And also extremely weird. Slicer, having had someone poke a tiny hole in his extremely articulated viewpoint, completely breaks down and gets pissed. Nothing says fragile like having a 12-year-old completely dismantle your worldview in front of your eyes. That's why you can ignore these red pill pushers. They're total hypocrites. Always. Better to invest your time in someone who actually wants to see you succeed, and not fork over cash for pickup lines. He literally falls off his horse because his armor's too heavy, and he also gets a splinter. In the end, all that armor got him jack shit. Remember kids, if some guy tells you you need X, Y, and Z to impress someone, they're whack with poo brain.
Forget it, man. This horse is whack. It's got poo brain.
Anyway, Jake picks up Finn with his ass cheeks, and the episode ends. I'm honestly kind of surprised just how deep this episode went. Was I maybe just a tad over-analytical today? Over-analytical today? Possibly. But all I'm offering is an alternate perspective. Something to chew on rather than those Cool Ranch Doritos currently in your hands. I mean, can't blame you. Cool Ranch is king, brother. I've also recently seen a lot of comments from women in the audience who feel attacked by what I say in my videos. The dating one especially. I just want to clarify that I am absolutely not out here to attack anyone. Yes, I went on kind of a black red pill rant towards the beginning about my one criticism with feminism, but genuinely, I love people. I see my role on YouTube not as someone who tries to bring women down, but as someone who's just there to bat for the men who have no one else to support them. That's all. I care about my audience, and I want the best for you guys. Men, women, non-binary, whoever you are. Anyway guys, that was Blood Under the Skin. You should also check out my South Park episode breakdowns, because we're gonna keep covering those in the next couple weeks. We recently did one on modern dating, and another on corn addiction. I think they're pretty good. If you want to see a breakdown of another Adventure Time episode, let me know which one in the comments. Also my Instagram, if you're into that. Anyways, thanks for watching. This is Candles, signing off.